I don't know. You want to start with a good one? They were all pretty good, I thought. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's one that I'm gonna rag on. Maybe we should start with that one because it's also probably the most famous movie from this year.
I'm interested to see what you pick here. Okay.
I was talking about Broken Blossoms
Oh,
by
okay.
D.W. Griffith.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. I'm interested to see what what you say about it because I feel like for a DW movie, if you like, you know, it, for a DW movie, I don't know. It's kind of nice.
I mean, no, it is. It is certainly less of a blatantly evil piece of art than some of his other movies, but it's just like I don't know. The DW of it all is really, even the stuff he does well is starting to annoy me sometimes now because he knows what he likes and tends to stick to a lot of sort of core ideas and character archetypes and things like that in his movies.
For sure.
And
For sure.
it's starting to get a little old.
I mean, that's the thing with him is that he just loves a very specific type of drama.
Mm-hmm.
And like he loves to be grim and dark and gritty because that's what he trades in for maturity.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think this is probably the most famous movie from this year. I'm guessing.
This is oh, how do I say this?
Oh.
So this movie's called Broken Blossoms, which is a better title than the original title. I don't know if this is one of those slurs that like you can that like you can say in like a pulled back kind of academic way, or if you just don't anyway.
I mean,
but
it's so absurd and blunt that it's also like I don't know. I'm a white person. I can't really speak to how offensive it is. But it's like cartoonishly offensive in such an old-timey way.
Yes. So it was a book, forgive me listeners. It was a book called The Chink and the Child that it was suggested to D.W. Griffith to adapt this movie by Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. They read the book and they thought that this is DW material, which it is, especially with that title. The basic plot is there's a man from China who he's like a Buddhist, I guess, he wants to he holds a great dream to take the glorious message of peace to the barbarous Anglo-Saxons, sons of turmoil and strife.
That's DW being like, see, white people can be bad too.
You know what it is that like it's interesting because the movie kind of makes this sort of like noble savage kind of argument for the peaceful as he's called yellow man,
Jeez. It's like this is D.W. Griffith being super racist is not a hot take, but like yikes.
And yeah, so like there's like this sort of like indictment of like the barbariousness of white people, but also like of course he loves white people. It's interesting to me that like he shares this with like say common day ethno-nationalists in their kind of love of Asians, like I feel like a lot of white supremacists these days like are they're like supportive of things like Japan, which are like they consider to be these like functional ethno states or whatever, and of course they all like fetishize like Asian people. So it's interesting to see like racists now and 100 years ago both kind of have like an Asian fixation.
Oh boy. Right, he has this kind of noble savage idea, I think, about Native Americans and about
that's
and
right.
And about Asia. And also, just his whole idea of like what innocence is and how it should be represented and things like that. I'm just like it's so naughty and so weird. So, and
Well,
there's a lot of that in this movie. This is very much a sort of like moralistic tale.
right. So like he stands as this like person who is like this moral kind of beacon in a way, and
Yeah.
then and
He is
sails
played
to
by a white actor in makeup.
That is true because D.W. Griffith cannot have any main character person of color
Yeah.
be played by a person of color. Only background characters.
There are a lot of Asian actors in this movie, just
Yeah.
only in the background.
I was actually surprised, like these scenes in the beginning that are set in China, like they look like really good. You know, they're really like deep scenes with a lot of stuff going on, like a lot of like lavish sets. Like he does that. He's done that before, and like a lot of maybe stereotypical, but like closely identified like visual iconography of like Asia, right? But apparently it was all. I was thinking like, is this shot on location? But it was not. It was all on a stage. It was shot in 18 days, actually.
Dang.
Anyway, keep getting distracted. Basically, he goes to London, and it like flashes forward a couple years, and he goes from this like optimistic guy who's trying to like teach people to be nice to just this like beaten down and sad shopkeeper in like a crummy London district. And it says that quote, the yellow man's youthful dreams come to wreck against the sordid realities of life, and he spends time in an opium den and all that kind of thing.
Another thing that is less overtly terrible about D.W. Griffith's movies that I still dislike is how overwritten his intertitles are. Like I'm sure he wrote them all. I'm sure he wrote them all himself, and they're all just so melodramatic and so like every single one is just like loaded with portent. But it's like they're not really well written a lot of the time. They're just very dramatic.
I mean, he wants to be taken seriously. Like in
He demands
Birth
it
of a
even.
Nation, Intolerance, we demand to be taken seriously. Oh, ah.
That's what every single one of his movies sounds like to me.
But yeah, in Intolerance of Birth of a Nation, like he had like paragraph markers on his title cards, you know? Like he's like, I'm like a book, I'm serious, you know?
Yeah. There is I also agree that I think a lot of the like staging of this movie is very impressive. The set work, I think some of it might have been shot on like in the United States, but on locations like on the waterfront. Down by the docks, that sort of thing.
Right, I suppose so. There are some like miniatures to represent like wide shots of London streets, I believe.
Yeah. So we're also introduced to Lillian Gish playing the girl, or Lucy.
He loves to do that. He loves to, he loves to call people like the yellow man, the girl, the what was the other one? The spying one.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh yeah. Also, there is. I don't have the full quotation here, but there's a bit where it's. I believe it is. What's the lead character's name? Cheng Huan. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
So he's always referred to as the yellow man.
But I'm not going to call him that.
Yeah. You can see the name of his shop, like who it's owned by, and it is Chun Huan.
It is like he has a name in the film. They just never refer to him by that name.
No.
But there's a bit
because we're racist over here.
There's a bit where he's quoting Buddha in English in the intertitles, and it says thou, and I have written down no way did Buddha ever say thou. But so anyway, Lillian Gish as the girl / Lucy, her actual name. She has a drunk, abusive father figure, which is a big stock 1910s silent movie character.
Yeah.
And she is told not to get married.
His name is Battling Burrows.
Yes.
They both have like kind of Cockney accents in the title cards, which is entertaining.
Yeah. But she is told not to get married and not to be a prostitute, which are her only options, apparently. I do think Lillian Gish is good in this movie. I think she does good eye acting.
Yeah, for sure.
She might actually be the only really good performance in this movie. I think a lot of the other actors in it are doing some kind of wild silent movie acting that maybe doesn't work as well. But
Yeah, the guy who played Battling Burrows, he was also a director. And they had to shoot all of his scenes at night because he was directing another movie during the day. But maybe a better director than actor. I don't know. He did definitely overact. And then the main character, you can't see his acting under all that yellow face.
yeah. He does a lot of, weird walks and like holding his arms in his sleeves and such. And then I don't know, my notes get a little vague here, and I watched this movie like 6 months ago, so
well, so basically, like, it calls Battling Burrows an abysmal brute, and it says that that Lucy is used as a punching bag to relieve his feelings, which is really awful. And one kind of like really like messed up motif in this movie is that even as or after he is like, physically abusing her, he's like, why aren't you smiling? You should be smiling. You got to smile. And it says she never has any reason to smile, and so when he tells her that, she kind of like turns to the side and then forces her lips into a smile in this really just disturbing way. And
it's
then like
a real Joker moment. I would actually say it works better in this movie than in that movie, but continue.
Are you talking about the Joaquin Joker?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see that movie. I don't. I think I've seen the kind of image that you're talking about. That one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's a pretty disturbing image. Apparently, it was Lillian Gish's idea. That motif, and then DW went with it.
He's like, great, very on the nose.
Love it. And basically, like, what ends up happening is that Chen Huan and Lucy end up kind of, being kind of friendly with each other. He kind of starts, like kind of dreamily looking at her through his shop window. And eventually, like, Chen Huan, like, kind of rescues her from being kind of kicked out in this like fairly abusive situation, and he takes her in and kind of heals her for a while. The Battling Burrows is a boxer, and he like as he's preparing for a match, he hears that his missing daughter, who he generally doesn't care very much about, but cares about her as a piece of property. He hears that this guy Chen Huan is taking care of her, basically, and so he plots to basically just come to Chen Huan's place and mess him up.
Well, I'm gonna mess that guy up, ain't it?
One other thing is this kind of like irony that happens in the movie, like in the middle of the movie, where Chen is like runs into some Christian missionaries who are going to China to convert the heathens, and it's this kind of like like you're ones to talk, and they hand him a book that just says hell on it.
Great moment. Can I get that book anywhere?
The Hell book. There's some cool kind of use of like matting on the edge of the frame to like make different shapes of the frame. Like really narrow vertical things, or really really narrow like horizontal, all sorts of things going on, like adjusting the shape of the frame, which I feel like is more often done with like circles, like a vignette, than like just like hard borders.
I noticed that a lot from films this year specifically. Like that's not an uncommon technique, I guess, at this time, and it's not something you really see anymore, hardly ever. But it's really interesting, and it really breaks things up.
Make different frame shapes, you know?
Yeah.
Samurai Jack did it.
Miss that show.
And basically, like, I don't know. It ends in a sad way, like every DW movie ends.
It is, as stated, a tale of love, a tale of tears.
He as he's taking care of her, it says he watched Lucy and saw her beauty. The spirit of beauty breaks her blossoms all across her chamber. And yeah, and then, you know, the dad gets mad that he is taking care of his daughter. There's like some fighting back and forth, and, you know, she dies in the process. Actually, she's like trying to she's like recaptured by battling Burroughs, and then he like kills her while he's like trying to punish her, basically. Chen Huan finds out, and then in his final like corruption by the West, he grabs a gun, kills battling Burroughs, and then dies. That's the movie.
There is a sort of classic DW scene of like woman hiding behind a door bit.
Yeah.
Which felt very reminiscent of, or like a precursor to The Shining. Just like the actual sort of like framing of it. To the point where I was like, did Kubrick look at this movie at all? Like, it's very similar of just like breaking the door down kind of thing, and like the hole in the door, that kind of stuff.
And like, speaking of like DW motifs, like this is something that he does a lot.
This is something he does pretty much every movie, is like a woman hiding in a room while someone's trying to break in. And
then like usually, maybe someone will rescue her in time.
Usually he's intercutting with someone who's like racing to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the entire movie was the Lonedale Operator.
Yes, that's right.
Is that.
All based on that Grand Guignol bit.
Right. But the sort of the specific staging of this one is very Shining-y.
Mm-hmm.
Some BTS behind the scenes stuff that I learned reading about this. I think all behind the scenes facts about these movies should be taken a little bit with a grain of salt. Although some of these I found from an actual like interview with Lillian Gish. One is that she got influenza during the rehearsals for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think this was shot either late 1918 or early 1919. She talks about how like everyone had to wear a mask on set. Just very common things now that every film set does.
And 5 people from the studio died like during the making of this movie. I don't know if it was like directly related, but that was like something that Lillian Gish said in an interview.
We'll probably get into this more with another one of the movies, but this 1919 is pretty much the only time, or like the only time I've come across any real direct references on screen or off screen about how the influenza pandemic affected filmmaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
it seems like they tried to ignore it a bunch.
Yeah, like they seemingly almost completely ignored it. Unlike COVID, which is now they're like making whole shows just about that. I'm like, stop it. I don't need it.
We're done. We don't want to think about it anymore.
Exactly. So yeah, that's that movie.